What's up, guys? Mr. Nose Hoops back today with another video, and today we are back. The NBA Finals are just around the corner. They are tomorrow as I'm recording this video, and today we are going to talk about what each team, the Knicks and the Spurs, in a 1999 rematch. The script's going crazy. What both teams can do, because I'll be honest, coming into this, finals, I really did think whoever was going to win the Western Conference Finals, that was basically the NBA Finals. But I was wrong. The more and more I think about it, talked to some buddies about it on Discord. Shout out my guys, Polnareff and Mars, Cam, Garp, Dream, all those guys. We talked about it, and there are things that the New York Knicks can definitely take advantage of here to do well. And I think the biggest X factor for this team is going to be Cat. Because if you're the Knicks, you're trying to run 5 out. You're trying to get Victor to have to rotate around the court, and then at that point you can either back cut, just even drive and take advantage of the opening there at the rim. Because when you watch stuff like this, so for a second here it's going to be a whole different shot, triple bouncing in, okay, cool. But this is something that's going to be different about this team versus the Thunder for the Spurs. This is not Chet Holmgren. He has no problem just stepping into a 3-ball and fighting for every shot he gets, right? Because, again, if he's hitting like this, and obviously I understand, well, this is on Luke Cornett. Well, first of all, that's still a 7-footer. Second of all, that means Wemby's going to have to go, oh, shit, I can't just completely leave you out. And the other thing is, too, I think a major advantage that teams will have to recognize and notice and take advantage of, and I think Cat can do this, you can get physical with Wemby down low, especially if you're driving. I've seen Jared McCain do it. I've seen Alex Caruso do it. I think if you can get ahead of steam and get that shoulder, whatever you want off, right, a legal move, you can force Wemby to have to shift. And this already is so much different than everything that we saw in OKC. Because, again, Cat will put his shoulder into Wemby. He will get downhill and play physical. And at that point, he's at the rim, gets the and one. Now, I think if Cat is bricking from 3, you're cooked. Because I think at that point, if you're the Spurs and Mitch Johnson, you easily go, oh, well, I'm just going to chill out. Josh Hart, Wemby, rotate over, and then the rim's cut off. And when the rim's cut off, I mean, what are you really expecting to do? That's where I think things can get a little bit crazy. And I also think when we look at what Cat's been able to do all playoffs long, right? He's been very impressive. But I think what's made him so impressive is that he's been the hub / passer and playmaker, which I've talked about on this channel many times. So I felt very dignified in how he's been playing and people talking about it, right? That's what makes Cat so special so far these playoffs, has been the fact that while his scoring volume has gone down, because, again, they're blowing teams out and they're sniping and doing their thing, Cat's also been able to be the hub and the facilitator so that Brunson doesn't always necessarily need the ball. And, again, if you're hitting the 5 out well enough, right, like let's say Cat's, 40% from 3 on 5 or 6 a game or 4 a game. Mitch Johnson cannot reasonably go, guys, let's just leave him. You can lose, because the thing is with someone like Cat especially, is when he's hot, you're in a deadly, deadly spot, because then you're going to have to overhelp on him, and then Brunson can get going, and at that point, I don't know how you turn that faucet off. So I think if you're the Knicks, you have to get Cat going from the perimeter. Make them respect the 5 out. At that point, if you can force Wemby to get onto Cat, I think that Cat is actually capable of making those connecting passes to back cutters, to OG on the back line, to Mikal trying to get to his little midi. Even if it's a Brunson, I just think there's a very good chance that you can take advantage of what has been presented to you by this team. And I think that's because Cat is a good secondary playmaker, and I think that would alleviate the offensive load on Brunson, because they're going to throw the wall at him. And then, so the X factor for this team, I think, is Karl Anthony Towns hitting. If he's not hitting from three, I think this team is much easier to guard because at that point, Mitch Johnson's just going to go, Wemby, you're on Josh Hart, and we'll cut off the rim. And when that rim's cut off, I don't know how guys like Brunson are going to play effectively. I don't know. You're going to effectively eliminate a lot of guys on this team. But then we talk about the Spurs. And you're like, okay, Amster, well, what does this team do? I think what they do is they need to have Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle go downhill. You need to force the issue at hand. You need to make it known that you are a legitimate threat on the court. I think that Vassell, Harper, Castle all have to get a piece and go. Because again, Mikal and OG can only guard so many people. Like, it's basically going to probably be OG is guarding Wemby, and then Cat comes along back line to help. Okay, cool. Mikal's going to be on a combination of Fox, Harper, or Castle, I would assume. So at that point, who are you hiding Brunson with? And if you're Wemby and you're hitting threes and you force Cat to come out, it should be a free buffet down there. Because if not, and you put in Mitch Robinson, well, Wemby can then sit next to Mitch and things get dangerous. I think for the Knicks, or for the Spurs, Devin Vassell, basically the 1 through 3 or 4 on this team, has to force the defensive issues against the Knicks. You have to force this team to go, oh crap, we have to stop the drive. Because if Devin Vassell, Castle especially loves going downhill. If he can find and attack Brunson every single time, or not every single time, but a good chunk of the time, then you're tiring Brunson out. Because then he's having to guard those drives. Then on offense, he's probably going to end up being less efficient, less productive. And at that point, you probably get Cat who's trying to force some stuff up. And that's where I think that this Spurs team really becomes dangerous. So effectively, guys, what I'm saying is I still do believe the Spurs will win this series. Because I think that the Knicks have too many things that they have to counterpunch. That the Spurs, I think, could patch much easier. Their holes, they can kind of be like, okay, we figure out this problem, we can solve this problem. The Knicks will have to be, how do we stop all these dudes from driving? And then can they really effectively stop Wemby from getting to the rim like OKC did? And I'm not really sure that they can. And then if you're Mike Brown, you're like, crap, how do I play Mitch? Because are you basically staggering the minutes with Wemby? Where, okay, Vic's out, Mitch go in. And at that point, try and get even more O boards, take advantage of, the size deficiency there. And take the game over that way? Are you trying to run a double big? Because I don't know if you can do that. Because we saw in OKC, when they ran double bigs, Wemby was able to basically can't paint, and everyone else struggled. And I do think that Brunson can do better against guys like Cass and all that because he's smaller and shiftier. But at the same time, I also think he's going to be a much bigger exploit defensively. So ultimately, I think the Knicks have too many things they have to counterpunch. They have to counterpunch the drives. They have to counterpunch the possibility of a Spurs 5-out. They have to... Something I didn't mention, and this is also why Cat's an X factor. If Cat gets in foul trouble early, it's cooked. It is so cooked. But I do think that Cat will get some good stuff on Wemby because I think Cat will put his head down, get his shoulder into him, and go, I am not Chet Holmgren. I do not fear playing against you. I will go up and put up shots. And that's where I think the difference is made. So I do think that is an effective counterpunch. I do think that Cat basically is their KO. Like, if you're in a boxing match, Mike Tyson, whatever, you got to land that right hand, Cat is the right hand. because you know what Brunson's going to give you. You know how some of these role guys are going to play. It's a matter of, is the second guy, is Karl Anthony Towns going to step up and say, we are winning this series? Because if he comes through, I'd probably say Knicks in 7 or maybe 6. But I think realistically, there are going to be rough nights from Cat defensively. There are going to be nights where Brunson is absolutely gassed because of what he has to go through on both ends of the floor, because they will attack and will exploit him. Because this isn't the Thunder anymore. There isn't there is a weak link. 2 even, you would argue, in Brunson and Cat. I think the other thing you hope that if you're the Knicks, is that you gas Wemby. You really hope that you force Wemby out the paint early. You force him to become a jump shooter. And at that point, Cat, Mitchell Robinson, whoever, even Josh Hart, they will get those rebounds. They are not soft in terms of that. So, ultimately, guys, as we're talking through this all, I ultimately think this is going to be Spurs in 6 or 5. 5 is if everything goes wrong. But probably Spurs in 6. I think that this series does go the distance. I'm going to be honest, though. I think game 1 might be a blowout. I think the Knicks are going to be almost too fresh, too tired, too rusty. Or not tired, but too rusty. And I promise you right now, they are not blowing a 20-point lead with 8 minutes left. This is not the Cavs. They do not have a James Harden that you can just go, oh yeah, attack him every time and we're going to cheese. And Mitch Johnson will also call a timeout at a certain point and go, yeah, we're switching this up. So, let me know what you guys think of this finals. I'm actually very excited. I think that these playoffs have been incredible. And now we're getting a potential legacy-altering stuff right now. Like legitimate legacy-altering stuff. So I'm going Spurs in 6. What do you guys have? As always, this is Mr. Knows Hoops. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'll be back soon. I've got some fun stuff coming up. So, as always, guys, this was Mr. Knows Hoops. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.